Money and finances can be a real relationship killer. And you know what else can? Financial infidelity. So, what is it and how do you spot it? Joining us with some of those answers that you need to know is Dan Casey, an estate planner with Bridge River Advisors. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
Hey, we are glad to have you. So, how do people know when this is what they're dealing with, financial infidelity there?
So it's tricky for sure. So you gotta, without being too invasive, you might want to just keep your eye on, the social media, digital footprint, your checking accounts, your savings, going through just like bank statements and just kind of making sure you're in touch with the money that's coming in and what's coming out. I think is the best way to do it without, being too invasive.
Yeah, and it's kind of a hard thing to do because I know some people want to still have their own personal finances handled a certain way. How do you know when it's just someone wanting to just do their own thing versus kind of keeping secrets?
So I guess it's just, having that talk, having a regular conversation, like maybe it's every 3 months, every 6 months, where you sit down with your spouse and kind of go through, the spending habits and are we saving enough? And that's a great way, I think, to uncover things like that. And if it's really, really bad, I think there's some nefarious stuff that can go on between the spouse, but what they're probably not going to do is lie to the IRS. So that would be a whole nother level of fraud and stuff that's not legal. So reviewing the tax returns is always a good way too, because if they're not going to lie to the IRS, then it should all really be there on the tax form. And if you don't understand it, you could hire a forensic accountant, CPA, talk to me, and we can kind of go through it and help you make sense of what all the scheduled A's and C's and all that fun stuff is.
For a new relationship, when is it appropriate to start having conversations about finances?
You're not going to like the answer, but as soon as possible. So I know it was funny when I got married. The priest at our church sat us down before we got married and had all that conversation, and it was a shocker to me. It didn't even occur to me. Like, he's asking stuff like, "You guys are going to have separate checking accounts? Who's going to pay the bills? Who's going to do this?" It's like, oh, I don't know. I didn't even think about that. So it is a good idea, maybe when you're in the dating phase, to kind of have that fun conversation of, do you use credit cards? How do you pay your bills? Things like that. Things that are probably not a great conversation maybe next week on Valentine's Day, but maybe other times you can have that.
Yeah, and what are some tools that couples can use so that they can start working together in a financial space to do something that's healthy and transparent and works for both sides?
I think just, kind of identifying your financial compatibility, for lack of better words, and really just sitting down and coming up with that budget, coming up with that spending limit, making sure you're sticking with it. I don't know how far you want to go as far as doing a background check on everybody. That's certainly not fun either to do when you're first dating or in marriage, but I think things like that, just having a spending limit, sticking to it, and then revisiting it on a regular basis, for sure.
Do you think it's good for couples to disclose things like financial debt, maybe some student loans, some back taxes, especially if you're going into possibly pursuing marriage?
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to be upfront with that. You can't start a relationship, obviously, on financial lies. So you gotta make sure that you're upfront with how much you are in debt, because the other spouse is taking on that debt when you guys marry. So in certain circumstances, but so yeah, you got to be upfront with all that stuff, and it can't be a surprise because that would come back and bite you probably.
Yeah, and is it a good thing to maybe check in with a financial advisor if it gets to that point, to just have someone come in and help you figure out a new strategy that could work for both parties?
Yeah, for sure, and that's obviously what we do because money is such an emotional thing that it's better to have that conversation on a regular basis. And what better way of reviewing your finances and your saving and everything when you're sitting down with a financial advisor? Because you don't want it to get to the point where, like, I can be an expert witness in divorce proceedings with accreditation. So I see when it gets really, really bad, and you don't want it to get to that point. So the more discussions before that happens, the better.
All right, and speaking of, if someone needs your help, what are some of the best ways that they can reach out to you in your office?
Probably just go to the website, bridgeriverllc.com. That's got where I'll be speaking locally, our phone number, email, all that good stuff.
All right, some great tips. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Having me.